Hey guys, it's Holly. Welcome to another video. If you have already messed up on your New Year's resolutions, this video's for you. It's halfway through January. Many of us have set goals that are absolutely unattainable for ourselves, like exercising every day and eating only the healthiest of foods. But I'm here to tell you guys that you only need 4 resolutions this year, and you can start right now. This video is brought to you guys by Audible, the online audiobook library with the biggest selection ever. Click the link in the bio or check out audible.com/Superholly for a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial. There are so many good books, you guys, but what I chose for this month is The 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. And just to challenge myself a little bit, I decided to get the audiobook in Spanish. As many of you will recall, my #1 tip for language acquisition and fluency is to listen to native speakers and then later try to emulate what they're saying. Now, I'm at a point where I don't really need to emulate sounds, but it's always good just to keep up and practice my vocabulary. So that's why I chose to listen to it in Spanish. But I'm gonna give you guys a little nugget of what this book is about and why I think it's awesome and why I think we should all apply the 4 agreements in our lives. Not just in 2018, but forever. What I really like about listening to a book instead of reading it is that you can multitask, and I like to get several things done at once. So I'll be driving and listening, editing photos and listening, washing dishes and listening. I can get more things done, and at the same time I'm bettering myself, or at least I'd like to think that. Let's get into the book, The 4 Agreements. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word. This is the most important one. It's the basis for all the others. It's very simple and very powerful. The first thing that they really talk about here is that we don't realize how powerful our words are. Words give us the power to express and communicate with others, to think, and to create events. Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. If you misuse your words and they are based in fear and lies, you're basically creating a living hell on earth. However, if you're impeccable with your words, you're creating beauty and love, basically heaven on earth. So yes, it's about speaking the truth at all times, but it's also about not using your words against yourself and not allowing your mind to be a fertile ground for seeds of doubt and fear to grow. You'll only receive a negative idea if your mind is fertile ground for that idea. Isn't that crazy to think about? Being impeccable with your word basically means using your energy in a direction of truth and love for yourself. It's being accountable for what you say and think, but not judging yourself for it. That's the first agreement. The second agreement is such a special one. Don't take anything personal. It's really important to remember that nothing that other people do is because of you. It's because of them. Everyone lives in their own dream, in their own mind, in their own construct of reality. And everything that they do is based on that. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion based on their belief system. So at the end of the day, what they think about me, it's not really about me, it's about them. Their preconceived notions, their constructions in their mind. And knowing this is so freeing because some people are just going around spewing hate and they might spew it out on you. And what happens? If you know to not take anything personally, it completely slides off. You're free from any of that. It doesn't affect you, it doesn't ruin your day. It's so beautiful to not take anything personally. The third agreement is to never assume. I think there's a phrase out there that says, when you assume, you make an ASS out of you and me, or something like that. And it sounds kind of obvious, but we do it all the time. If your partner comes in a bad mood, how often do you assume that they're mad at you? If your coworker comes in late, how often do you assume that they're just irresponsible? But if you ask, you might find out that they got in a car wreck and it wasn't their fault at all. Assuming always leads you down the wrong path because you're basically building a castle on a false foundation. That's the problem with assumptions. We assume that they're the truth, and based on that, we build more assumptions and come to more conclusions. And we're getting further and further away from reality. So yeah, nip it in the bud, don't assume, go ahead and ask, make sure. The book says that all the sadness and drama that we experience in our lives is based in assumptions and taking things personally. So if we can master 2 and 3, we will be well on our way to a drama-free life, which sounds pretty pleasant to me. That brings me to the 4th agreement. Always do your best. And it may sound pretty basic, But when you hear everything the author has to say around this, it's truly, truly powerful. So one of the things that he says about doing your best is that you're taking an action because you love it, not because you're expecting a reward. Most of us do the opposite. We're doing something that we kind of don't like because we're looking for that reward. Meanwhile, we're not enjoying it at all. And that's the reason why we don't do our best in the end. The cool thing about doing your best is that it frees you from any regret. It also eliminates the stress of trying to push yourself too hard, which could be counterproductive. Just promise yourself that you'll go into every situation in life doing your absolute best, whatever that may be, and then you can be at peace with it. I think this is a really good one for creators, especially if you're like me. I tend to be pretty hard on myself, so every time I go back and look at a video that I recorded, I'm like, that was awful, I should have done this, I wasn't eloquent enough, I wasn't interesting enough, I forgot to do this. There's just a million things that I could have done different. But at the end of the day, if I tell myself in the moment, do your best, and I sit down and do it, then I can't really be mad later. You see how freeing that is? Oh, I love it! So instead of having these humdrum, eat well, work out, blah, blah, blah resolutions, nothing against those, but I decided that I'm going to keep these 4 agreements and promise myself to be impeccable with my word, to not take things personally, to never assume, and to always do my best. So far, I'm feeling pretty wonderful. Anyway, this is just my synopsis. Honestly, there are so many beautiful nuggets of truth in this book that will really, really resonate with you, I'm sure. I wrote down a few, so I'll go ahead and read them. This one's about living in general. Death is not the biggest fear that we have. Our biggest fear is taking the risk to be alive and express what we really are. Action is about living fully. Inaction is the way that we deny life. Whew, wow. Inaction is sitting in front of the television every day for years because you're afraid to be alive and take the risk of expressing what you are. Wow. How many of us are falling prey to that, huh? With all the screens available in our world. And how about this one? We live in a fog that is not even real. This fog is a dream, your personal dream of life, what you believe, all the concepts you have about who you are, all the agreements you have made with others, with yourself, and even God. And this is awesome. For all of you that think that you're set in your ways and that your life can't change, check this out. The dream you're living is your creation. It's your perception of reality that you can change at any time. You have the power to create hell, and you have the power to create heaven. Why not dream a different dream? Why not use your mind, your imagination, and your emotions to dream heaven? Love it! I'm feeling so inspired. There's so much more to the book. I highly recommend that you guys check it out. And remember, if you go to audible.com/Superholly or text Superholly to 500-500, you can get a free audiobook and a free 30-day trial. And every book that you download is yours to keep. You don't have to have Wi-Fi to listen to it. Once it's downloaded on your phone, it's yours forever. Why not make this the year where you truly better yourself as a person? I challenge you.